Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, I have Mama Micah. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing quite well today, Dustin. I want to let everybody know that I got new coffee pods that I'm really enjoying.
Oh.
There's limited edition espresso pods that are raspberry flavored, and they've been incredible. I didn't buy enough of them, though. I should have bought more.
Interesting. Now, as we were talking a little bit about coffee before we started recording, and I have never tried, it's Nespresso, right?
Yes.
Nespresso. I've never tried this. I know it's very popular. It's half appealing to me and half not, because I really like grinding the beans, that whole selecting different stuff. So I'm not interested in the pod aspect of it, but an easy way to make espresso sounds very nice. Because I have no way to do that currently.
That's the thing. When I wanted to get an espresso, machine for my house, I did, of course, at first look at like the really like in-depth ones. It's got the bean grinder and the milk frother and all this stuff. And it really was just like, I just don't want to do all that. I am just someone who's like, I'd rather just make a good cup of coffee than an excellent cup of coffee.
Sure.
And the other thing too with these pods, they are recyclable, which was important to me. And they stay really fresh. Like the pods, just the way they're sealed, like the freshness is like unmatched in terms of what I've had from like other like at home coffee machines, like pod style. So it's just one of those things of like, no, is it going to be the best latte you've ever had? No. But for making it at home, it's the best at home coffee I've ever made. And so for me, I'm like, hell yeah, that's worth it. But they had these limited edition flavors. And they had raspberry, and they brought it back. This was an old flavor that has returned, and it's just so good. And I'm just, but I'm kicking myself. I only bought 2 sleeves of it, and I should have bought more.
Oh, yeah. Got to bulk up. I've heard before that if you're buying an at-home espresso machine, that unless you're spending, I don't know the market now, but I've heard before it's like you got to spend probably $400+ if you want real espresso, because the coffee nerds will say that there's like it's like 10 pounds of pressure. There's some pressure gauge that needs to hit a certain level of pressure in order to be actually considered espresso and not just really strong coffee.
Yes.
So I've looked, there's one that I've heard of that is fully manual, that it's like a crank that you push down and has a dial and stuff. Maybe I'll get that at some point, but we'll see. Another coffee lover is here with us. And that is Dagan Moriarty. How are you,
guys? Are making me want a cup of coffee so bad right now.
Oh,
and I'm already done. I have my 2 cups. That's my quota. It's I heard this YouTube show. I forget which show it was, but there was like a British guy. He was like a coffee expert, and
that's Coffee Bay, as Holly and I like to call him. What's his name?
Dude,
yeah,
love this dude. They gave him, I guess he was a guest on another YouTube show. It was like a 1 million+ subscriber YouTube show. I forget who it was. Another British show, as far as I know.
Yeah. James Hoffman, by the way.
That's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, he was so eloquent and articulate talking about coffee, but they gave him a blind taste test on the show I saw him on. And which is Pratt, which is Starbucks and everything. That was fascinating. And he said something that disturbed me. He said that, like Keurig, K-Cup, K-Pod coffees are like the equivalent of like a microwave coffee. I was deeply insulted by that, because I'm now to the point where I get my own beans from a local coffee place, actually, here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Shout out.
Yeah.
Covered Bridge coffee. Super good. But I get my own beans. I grind them. I have my own little plastic K-Cup. I consider that like the equivalent of rolling your own cigarettes when you really dig smoking. It's like I'm at that point.
Yeah.
And this guy's still calling me out just because it's in the Keurig. So I'm thinking the only way now, he was saying on that very show, like I could go out for a client and easily spend $5,000 on your at-home coffee setup if you were like a real connoisseur. But I could spend $10,000, he was saying. And I was like, what? So now there's such a huge gap between where I'm at and where he's saying I should be at as a real coffee lover. I can't spend $10,000. I wish I could. I have a neighbor who has that kind of setup. Like, I'm sure this was like a multi-$1,000 setup. And I always want to have coffee at their house, but we're always there for like cocktails. No one's like in coffee mode. Because that would be a great way to try it out. Like, see, can I aspire to that someday? But anyway, so this guy was like, he really took the wind out of my sails with that. I thought I was doing so good. I was getting my own local coffee, grinding my own beans. Not good enough for this dude.
Yeah, well, I hate to hurt you, Dagan. I half agree with him in that it's like you're buying, well, I guess not quite equivalent. It's like buying really nice, a nice bourbon and then putting it with Coke or something. It's like, you got the ingredients right, but you're kind of, and here's the thing, Dave, you don't need necessarily thousands of dollars of equipment. It just depends on how much labor you want to do.
Yes.
My preferred setup, what I do at home is that I've got a grinder, I have a gooseneck kettle, and then I have a Hario V60, which is a pour over. And so you just learn the right ratio for what cups you want, and then
Holy
you pour water over top.
You guys are more hardcore than I realized. I'm still using the Keurig over here. I'm embarrassed.
Dude, Keurig, I have a thing about in the Last Stand Discord where people tag me about Keurig stuff because I've talked so much shit about Keurigs. At least, Dagan, though, the fact that you're grinding your own beans, that will substantially increase the quality of the Keurig. But, you can do some pretty nice stuff. Even a French press, which isn't my preferred method. I don't like cloudy coffee. I want it to be filtered. But anyway, this is a Nintendo podcast. We could do a coffee podcast.
You would have never known that.
Yeah, you would never know that. We are missing Gene today. He is not available to be with us. I think he will be here next time, though. So he's fine. Don't worry. As far as I know, he's fine. Anything could happen. I mean, as far as I know, he's fine. I just always got to put that out there. Someone's like, Dustin said he was fine, and he's not. It's like, well, to the best of my knowledge. But we're still going to have an awesome episode here with you guys. But before we do that, I got to plug our Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. You can get early access to this show at the $5 level. You can get early access to all of our other shows, Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Constellation, the new Summon Sign, all of that stuff at just the $5 level. And let me tell you guys, this is the week. This is the chaos week, which we're about to get into a little bit here, where we're kind of firing on all cylinders here at Last Stand with some of the news going on. So if you've ever thought, I'll do that at some point, maybe this is the week. Just think about it. Just consider. So, and of course, thank you to our current patrons. We couldn't do this without you. We appreciate you so very much. Guys, let's get into it. So, the main topic for this show is Xbox going third party. We talked about this not on the last episode, but I think the episode before, where I did the soy face Gene pointing at the Xbox games on Switch, because at the time, the leak/rumor was that Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves could be coming to Switch. And that was kind of all we really knew at the time. Was like, this could happen. We don't know when. Well, over the past week, things have changed drastically. There has been reports about, and I guess to preface, not much has changed on the Switch front, but I think we can still look at this from a broader sense overall. There are rumors and reports about Starfield coming to PlayStation 5, Gears of War coming to PlayStation 5, maybe even Halo. Basically, it seems like the floodgates could be open. And so while on Sacred Symbols and Defining Duke, we'll be covering this from the PlayStation Xbox side, I wanted to ask you guys about the Nintendo perspective. One other detail I left out earlier is that there was one update about Hi-Fi Rush, and that somebody data mined the files and found 3 shirts in the game that seem to align with a Switch version, a PlayStation version, and an Xbox version. Yeah, it's like a red shirt, and it was something about implying like portable, like rock anywhere or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So it very much seems like this is indeed happening. So I want to get your guys' full high-level thoughts first, and then I have 2 write-ins that we can talk about. Micah, you used to be hardcore Xbox fan. And now you're a bit all over the place in terms of your game playing, as I think we all are to some degree, except Colin. So when you heard this news, what did you think? And what do you think about this from the Nintendo side of things?
Yeah, I mean, my gut reaction is honestly a bit of disappointment. And that might sound weird because, as you mentioned, like I play all 3 consoles, right? And so it's not that I don't want to have like more experiences, available to more players essentially, but it really does come down to, why do I have an Xbox? If everything's going to be everywhere, then why did I buy this Xbox? And, it still comes down to, it's my favorite controller, things like that. If I'm going to be playing multiplayer, games like Call of Duty, that's the place I want to play it because it's my favorite controller and I just like using that system. But when you talk about things like, oh man, if some of the exclusives are just going to go other places, it does start to seem like, well, why do I need an Xbox? And it is just kind of a bummer to feel like you've kept investing in this console over the years and kept investing in this company, and then essentially being told like, well, it doesn't matter which box you have, you're going to be able to play these games. That's my gut reaction. It's just a little bit of disappointment. Looking at it from the Nintendo perspective, as I've mentioned many times how much I love games like Viva Pinata, that does give me a little bit of hope that maybe Microsoft would invest in some of these titles that maybe are a little more family friendly, a little more like kid focused even, and if they had the opportunity to put them on Switch. Because otherwise, I don't know how much of a market some of these games have. But that's really, it's like, do I want to play Gears of War on Switch? Not really. As we've talked about in the past about like the performance of the Switch and some of its its limitations compared to the other consoles, there's not a lot that I would play on Xbox that I really want to bring over to Switch, aside from some of these arcadey type titles. But my default reaction is still just disappointment, honestly, because I was a huge Xbox 360 fan, continuing on to the next consoles. Lately, there's just not much I want to play over there. And that's why you'll see me a lot more over on Nintendo, or really anything I'm playing on Xbox is a third-party game like, Yakuza 7. And it's because I want an excuse to play that console. So here's a third-party game that I could play on either of them, but I'll go ahead and play it here just so that this box isn't sitting in my house useless for, months and months at a time.
Dag, it feels like, absolute chaos out here to think about, playing Halo on Switch. And I'm curious too about your perspective in that. You don't even own an Xbox. So you're this is kind of a dark spot where you're like, this is a void. So this could be a whole slew of new experiences that you'd have access to. What are you thinking about
100%.
this?
I mean, in a way, for me, it's really exciting. I mean, I've never had a horse in the Xbox / Microsoft race. I've never owned an Xbox console, dating all the way back to the Xbone. So for me, it's interesting because now, even when I have to play a previously or an Xbox exclusive, quote unquote, or I had to for one of the shows, I would just turn to Steam, casually and play your Halos and so forth. I think it's interesting. I think for the gamer, especially the more casual gamer or niche gamer that doesn't have one of each of every console, I think it's a good thing because it opens up the availability to just play everything. I mean, I'm as excited as anybody to play Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, I would love to play that game, on console. It would be super fun to play on Switch. But it's interesting. I worry though, because just for the climate of competition, like if BMW stopped making cars, what would Mercedes-Benz game look like? Or pick your car company, Toyota versus Honda, right? Or Pepsi stopped making soda, just leaves it all to Coke. How good is Coke going to be? Where's the volition to bring their A game? That type of thing. Or I think it's something that speaks to me like Netflix and HBO. If all the great movies, if they just kind of bond up, there's no competition. Who's getting what director, who's getting what studio, who's getting a bigger budget, or Pixar and Illumination. Like you want that. It's almost the same thing, interestingly, with Disney swallowing up everything. It's like if they have everything, where's the competition? They're just cornering the market, and then that could be bad for the consumer. But I have to say, selfishly right now, I'm kind of excited to know like what's on the horizon for PlayStation and Switch, as somebody who's really much more involved on that side. And also the stuff that could be coming is even more exciting. So, and also just looking a couple of years back, like who would have seen this coming? This is really, really interesting. The other thing I'll say about it is I think it's really weird for a company the size of Microsoft with the coffers that they have, like the money and the financial sort of resources that a company like this has, to not be engaged in creating, and keeping that culture of you come here because we make these things and this is the only place you could get it. And also from a fan perspective, it's a little weird because we align ourselves with the one we like best. That's our sports team for gamers. It's like, I love the flavor of PlayStation. No, I love the flavor of Microsoft. When it's all kind of homogenized and mixed together, it's just less interesting from a fan perspective. And now we don't have that team to root for, which that worries me. I like this three-way race. I wish there was more. I wish Sega was still making consoles, so it could be really interesting. Now it's getting even more watered down and diluted. So that's I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to read real quick, just so everyone's up to speed in the audience about the fact that this feels all but confirmed. The only official statement we've gotten on this is a tweet from Phil Spencer said, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." The good old, we hear you. We hear you, but just let the chaos continue for a week, which I get it. They're not ready to talk quite yet. It's hard to, when you're working with one of the biggest corporations of the world, you can't just necessarily spit something out. There's a lot of things that need to go through before you're, make sure you have the right messaging set. So, but yeah, Dagan, as far as like the competition aspect, I think that's definitely a factor in terms of the PlayStation Xbox war. The race there is definitely like, what does it mean, like to have an Xbox, or I guess for the continuing of the brand, if it's lessened to that degree where people, when they're making a purchasing decision, say like, well, I'm okay. I don't care about waiting for games immediately, because I'm guessing that some of these instances are going to be timed exclusives. But I'm just going to get the system that has Spider-Man because I definitely want to play that and it won't be on the other one. So there's a lot of different, factors to consider. The thing that I've been thinking through this is just that Microsoft through and through has always been a software focused company. And with how much they've been investing in their studios, and at the same time, we see inflation go crazy. I wouldn't be surprised that this upper management is spooked and says like, we understand what the vision was, but we need return sooner than that. And right now, you're not showing signs that the return is necessarily going to be strong with the current plan. I imagine that there's like an internal conflict, like war going on between the Microsoft executives and the Xbox team, particularly like the higher ups with Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond, stuff like that. But again, that's all speculation. As far as Nintendo stuff, I want to read this question from Davey Supple, who says, "What's up, PU crew?
Ooh.
With all the talk of Xbox games coming to PlayStation platforms and Nintendo, what games would you realistically want to come to Switch? What games would fit on the handheld Stinky Switch? I personally would love to see Grounded move over. Building a base and defending myself against bugs would be awesome while sitting on the shitter. As always, love what you do here at LSM." Side note here, guys, I once took my Switch to the shitter. And it felt wrong. It felt like I was doing something illegal. And I thought, never again. The phone is a different vibe than the Switch. I don't need to be grinding out shrines while I'm taking a dump. But anyway, you can choose to respond to that or not. I'll leave that up to you. As far as games themselves, I think he brings up, in a joking way, a slight point about the handheld Stinky Switch. In that I think about Xbox games, I'm like, man, there's a real limited amount that I feel like would really make sense on this current Switch. But as this audience knows and Nintendo fans know, we are just about to get a more powerful new system that could open up a lot of new opportunities on what is, I guess, even just possible in terms from a technical perspective on the Switch. So Micah, while I'm sure that there are these Xbox games like Gears of War or whatever that you would continue to play on Xbox, is there anything in particular that you think, that would make sense? Viva Pinata, of course, goes without saying.
Well, so, I mean, mentioning Gears, I do think like a Gears 1, 2, and 3 collection could definitely work on Switch. You move towards the other games and they start to get a little like pretty, big to be on Switch, right? Like just because like you said, we're thinking about the current Switch right now, and really we don't know how powerful the next one's going to be. But the Gears, 1 remaster, for example, really good. I think that could run on Switch pretty easily. Gears 2 would probably be fine. I'm not saying we'd be playing the multiplayer on there. I don't know how great that would work. My other answer, though, because I got some props over here. We got Sneak King from Xbox 360, one of my favorites. And then, of course, we got Big Bumpin' as well. I couldn't find Pocket Bike Racer in time before the show. I have all 3, but I just couldn't find it. But like genuine answer of like, these are such fun titles that would be amazing on Switch. Now, I'm sure the licensing is probably expired. These were the Burger King games that came out many years ago. But Sneak King was incredible. All right. It's genuinely a game that I just think about still because it was just so much fun. And I'd love to see something like this on Switch because it would just be like, give me the Burger King collection, just all 3 games in one on Switch. That would be such a weird like throwback. But I mean, that's something that, man, if you remember those days on 360, like those games were awesome. And I had a ton of fun with them. So that would be a genuine answer. Like, I'd love to see Xbox bring some of these dead titles over to Switch, ones that people have just completely forgotten about, and say like, yeah, let's put these over here.
Yeah, there's I'm envisioning like the Burger King remastered collection.
Exactly.
Maybe Burger King Rebirth, like they pull from Final Fantasy. That could be an option. And if it's on the new Switch, 4K, HDR, full 9 yards, why not? But Dag, what kind of games would you from the Xbox side like to see? Is there anything that like maybe you've been sitting, you're like, that's pretty appealing.
Oh, baby. I thought of one immediately, but I just want to tip my cap to Micah because shout out to probably the most brilliant ad campaign ever. The Burger King and that whole era of those TV commercials and the media surrounding it. So weird. You're selling food with that.
Those
It's
ads.
so good.
I couldn't believe that people didn't like the King. Like, I genuinely didn't understand when I found out that people thought he was creepy and like they hated it. And I was like, what do you mean you hate it? It's hilarious. Like, that mascot was awesome. And then they made him 3 video games. So I was a big fan the whole way through.
I love it, Micah. That's such a good take. And yeah, an ad campaign that's purposely supposed to you're supposed to love it or hate it. It doesn't matter. You know it. And you're selling food with it. It was so weird. I love it. I hope it's still going in some form. I think it kind of is. Although they've kind of, I think I don't know what's going on with Burger King. We'll talk about that another time. But It's a crazy era of question marks right now. I mean, you're talking about Gears, Halo, Forza maybe is in the, kind of in the offing. These are weird times, man. These are like maybe apocalyptic times in some way. Like, who would have ever thought this was going to be a thing? But I'll tell you, Dust and Mike, the first thing I thought of, first game, I was like, Sunset Overdrive, please. I need it. This game has probably been on the top of my backlog since, when did it come out? 2014. And here's the thing. Here's where it dovetails nicely with what we're hearing about the next Nintendo console. People are saying, again, this is conjecture. We're speculating, but if this new Nintendo console is about as powerful as a PS4, Sunset Overdrive would be perfect. Perfect. I need it. I just need it. I just recently learned about, like, from the time that game came out, I was like, first of all, that is the coolest title for a video game ever. What is going on here? And in my typical Dagan fashion, it took me a while to really investigate and get deep down and see what it was all about. Dude, how have I not played this game yet? So that would be the perfect opportunity for me. I know you could play it on Steam now, I think. So I could. I think it finally came over to PC. Did it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me check.
Because it was a while, as far as I know. So there is a way, but how fun would that be to play on the Switch 2 or the Super Switch or whatever we're calling it at this time?
So yeah, Sunset Overdrive, you can buy right now on sale on Steam for $5.
Is it that cheap?
That's a good $5. That game's amazing.
Oh my God. How can you not buy it I would give them triple that right now.
Quadruple. 15.
I'm gonna get that money out right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think Sunset Overdrive is one universally from PlayStation and now Nintendo fans maybe saying, hey, where is this? Let's get this moving. There's some weird rights with that game where I think Sony owns Sunset Overdrive now with the purchase of Insomniac, but they don't have the rights to the first game release on console. It's something strange. I can't remember
that's
exactly.
Right, because the whole Insomniac thing, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe this could at least work something out with Xbox to say, like, yeah, let's make this happen.
Cool.
So the games that I think would work, particularly I'm thinking about like the Switch audience. Like, what do you want that would appeal so much? And the write-in mentions Grounded, which I think makes a lot of sense. It's a survival game on the go would be really cool. I think about Pentiment, that game that's like the medieval style, much more story driven. I haven't played it, but I think that would be a nice fit. And then I think maybe the most obvious one, breathing new life into this game, Psychonauts 2 on the Switch could be pretty interesting. But there is something also that would be pretty neat about Halo Master Chief Collection being over there, just because those games are old enough that I think they would run fine. And a Switch 2, I mean, it theoretically I think would run without any issues. But that one would be cool just because I recently bought it on Steam and was checking it out on Steam Deck. And obviously that's another option to play them portably, but I was sitting there checking out Halo 2 on a handheld, and I was having that moment again. It's like, wow, I remember when this came out and how impressive it was and playing it on Xbox. And it's like, well, now it runs at 90 frames per second on a handheld. Like, it's like, feels crazy just that's even possible. Obviously it's been possible. It's not anything new that we have handheld powerful games, but it still was a neat feeling. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with this, particularly just like the decisions of like how recent, how much audience factor comes in of certain games. And I think the biggest question mark for me is just that with the Switch 2 being so much more powerful, what that means as far as like, could there be some of these bigger, more AAA titles, I guess? Like, could we see the new Indiana Jones game make it over to the new Switch? I don't know if it's possible, but I'm just, throwing that out as a possibility. Like, with that more powerful console, I think a lot more titles become open on the table as possibilities, and Microsoft sees that Switch install base, and they see dollar signs, and then that's why certain titles have already made it over, like the Ori titles have made it over, which is more of a second party thing, and also Cuphead, not direct Microsoft first party titles, but still something that's made its way over because they saw the potential in the install base. So, oh wow, we're already going 30 minutes. We've already talked quite a bit. Is there any other thoughts you guys want to chime in about this before we move on?
Do you guys feel bad for the Xbox diehards? Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're losing all your bragging rights. The old school console war-ish thing that's been going on for, decades now. In this case, largely between Xbox, Microsoft and Sony. It's like the fanboys over there, the whole culture could shift because of this. It was like everybody's got to get in the pool together. It's like we're all just gonna, maybe it's moving towards this one universal thing, like 1-to-1, everything for everybody type of thing, which again is just, it's cool in a way for gamers for accessibility, but I think it's just a little less fun and interesting. There's not going to be any arguing anymore. No more chat room Discord insulting one another. That whole thing. Are we losing that?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are still things that Xbox fans can hold on to if they get games, on release instead of 3-6 months, a year later. I mean, there's also the Game Pass argument too. It's like, oh, you guys are spending $70 each and I'm spending $15 a month or whatever. Right. So there's that aspect as well. But Mike, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that specifically, or I do. You had something else you want to say too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms of that, it's a huge bummer. I mean, I have largely stepped away from Xbox over the years because they kept canceling games I was interested in, and just, a real lack of exclusives that made you say like, well, yeah, I have to play it on here. That's a big part of choosing a console is which games do you have to have that console to play, right? So that was just, it's been a disappointment over the years. I've never been, though, very fanboyish because I do like to play as many games as possible and have always tried to just play all three consoles. The thing I was going to mention just in terms of one other service that maybe could work on Switch, Xbox got rid of the Xbox Live like indie marketplace. I don't know if you remember that, where it was like true indie games, like very small games that were like super cheap. They shut that service down years ago, but I used to love it. And there were just tons of just weird games in there that were really cheap. And that is something I wonder if they could bring back in some fashion on Switch. Like, I mean, all-time great games like No Luca No, which is a game where you're trying to keep your cat out of your bowl of cereal. Try Not to Fart is a like amazing game where like, have you ever seen that game, Dustin? Like,
I definitely have heard of it.
Oh my God. It's hysterical. You're a man going on a series of dates and he's trying not to fart. And it is really fun. Like, it's a genuinely fun game. It's really weird. But there were so many titles like that in that indie marketplace. And, when that service got shut down, I was genuinely sad. And that is something, though, that on handheld, those games could work so well. And just, of course, thinking of what else people could create now, that is something I would be really interested to see if they could partner with Nintendo on that and bring back this indie marketplace, which, for some reason they determined wasn't doing well enough to keep on their console, but maybe that could work in handheld. So those are things that I would be a little more hopeful for of, well, maybe they can bring back some services that they got rid of because it wasn't working for their core market anymore.
Yeah, I got to mention too, because I know there's probably people screaming out loud hearing us not mention Rare Replay making perfect sense on Switch. Some of these games, a Homecoming in a lot of ways, which
full circle.
I think Banjo-Kazooie might be on Nintendo Switch Online, but I can't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure it is. But some of these other games too would be pretty fun to move over. So that's it for the Xbox talk. We will, of course, be updating as we know more as soon as Hi-Fi Rush and other things get announced. And we'll get Gene's take, too, next time. So moving along to our first news topic of the day. It's nothing too crazy, but it's worth talking about. And that's Switch 2, or whatever, Super Switch, will feature an 8-inch LCD screen. This is according to Bloomberg. So I looked at this article, and that's really all about they had to say. It was 8-inch screen LCD. So this is, I think, a big disappointment for a lot of people, especially Switch OLED owners that really, they got that console and realized how much of a big upgrade, just the simple screen update, which it's always fun to me. I think about screens and people that have like insane decked out computers, and then they have this old crappy monitor they've used for 8 years. I'm like, dude, all of that power, the way that you process it, the way you actually consume it, your screen should arguably be as much as the computer. So while it's not exactly the same as the Switch, the point is just that so much of your interface with the game is on the display. And so to hear that the LCD screen for Switch 2 is kind of a step back, a little disappointing. So Dave, I think you have a Switch OLED.
I do. I never get to use it because my kids have it, but yeah. In theory, I do have it. Yeah.
In theory, yeah. So you've seen the glory of the OLED. How do you feel about this potential backstep?
I mean, obviously it's a cost-cutting thing. I think Nintendo's kind of they've got a chance to coin, or copyright the no LED. Just call it a no LED instead of just put an N in there, coin that, and add insult to injury. I think it's interesting. I think they try to get us with size. The 8-inch sounds pretty good. Right. You know what? I have an 8-inch display in my, my car's kind of interactivity screen or whatever. I have an older car. It's like a 2016, but that's 8-inch. So every time that pops up when I start the car, I'm like, oh, that's how big the new Switch is supposed to be. I hope they call it Virtual Boy too. That's my new console. Dude, that's what I'm rooting for.
Bring it back.
It has nothing to do with it, but just call it that for no reason. These are the baller moves I want to see. Type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 8 inches, the size is good. I think the LCD thing was a surprise, but I think it probably would have probably tagged on like another $100 or so to the price of the console. So and people are already saying it's going to be $400+, right? Best bet. So I think it would have been really hard for Nintendo to go to the $500 or so price point. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah. So, Micah, for comparison, the standard Switch, 6.2 inches.
Right.
Switch OLED, 7 inches. Right. So we're getting a whole extra inch. That's a lot to work with. So, Micah, as someone who plays on handheld so much, what do you think about this?
So I'm torn because on the one hand, I never upgraded to the OLED. So for me, this is fine. It's just going to be like the screen is what I'm used to. That's great. My only pause is that, a bigger screen sounds better, but I am a little concerned with how heavy the console is going to be because the Switch is pretty comfortable for me to hold for like long periods of time. This is going to be cut out by Lockmort so weirdly. I can already feel it. But so the Switch is already it's a great weight, a great size console for someone of my stature. Like I'm 5'4", I'm a pretty small person, because that is a problem I run into in gaming. Like, for example, the PS5 controller is so heavy. That controller hurts my hands. Like within an hour of playing it, I just am like, this controller is so heavy. I don't like it. It's just hard for me to play. So I do worry, like, how heavy are they making this new Switch? I trust them though, because they do know how, many people are playing it that are families with children, etc. So I have to assume that that's going into their testing and everything. But on the one hand, I'm like, okay, yeah, bigger screen is better. A little bit disappointing that it's not going to be the prettier screen, but that's part of why I held off on upgrading, was because I kept telling myself, well, the next Switch will probably be an OLED. And so knowing that it's not, I'm a little relieved that I never upgraded my system. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how much better it actually is. But it's a bit of a disappointment to know that it'll probably be a future upgrade that they do. Maybe then I'll actually do it, right? If they have the new Switch and then 2 years later come out with the OLED model, I'll probably upgrade it, knowing that, well, Switch 3 will probably not have an OLED by default either. But that's my biggest concern, is how heavy is this console going to be with this new size screen? But I mean, we can't know until we see it. I'm already a little afraid.
One thing that I was thinking is that, Dagan, you bring up the pricing aspect. Would they be concerned about it if they did the OLED? It would be too expensive, and I think that's definitely true. My dream scenario would be release 2 models at launch. Launch a core model and the premium model that's $500 or whatever. Just because $500 is a lot of money, but it's not as much as it was even 3 to 5 years ago, with inflation and stuff like that. And so, and still have that lower price entry model for people that just don't care, because there are, I'm sure, thousands of people that don't care. So that's my dream. My wonder with the LCD, there's a couple of factors. First of all, I wonder first if surely LCD technology has improved greatly. I know, like, my MacBook has the micro LED screen, which it wasn't. I'm not saying it's going to have a micro LED, but overall, even though it's not OLED, those have been improving. So maybe they're looking at the cost analysis and saying, like, well, it would be a lot more, but this looks pretty damn good. The other thing I wonder is just, what is the feature set of this LCD screen? Is it 720p, or are we getting a resolution bump to 1080p, which I think it would help for the extra inch that you're getting to kind of keep it high resolution, but also 720p is, for that size of screen, I think would still be fine. The other 2 factors in terms of LCD feature set. One, if they implement some kind of on console like VRR setting, which is basically that the screen itself can synchronize with the frame rate, so you don't have like mismatched frame timings, which would make the game smoother if it doesn't run at a locked setting. That could be interesting. And then last, what if this is an 8-inch LCD screen that does 120 frames per second and the gameplay is super smooth? Obviously, not all games would do that, but I would imagine a lot of games with Nintendo's more cartoonish art style, they're like, man, we can make this game look so fluid. Ultimately, I think all of those things are wishful thinking, because this is Nintendo we're talking about. So I think this is me with the technical mindset, like, I'll think about all these great things. It's probably just a cost saving measure ultimately, but a man can dream nonetheless.
I like it, Dust. I mean, those are good. Even if you have one of those things, it might be a good trade-off just to get, maybe diffuse the nerd rage a little bit and say, look, we are being forward thinking. That type of thing. And, also, I love your theory about just having 2 different versions at launch. It is maybe wishful thinking, but also, what better way for them to engage from the outset between the more casual gamer or the younger gamer and their hardcore gamer base to go and make decisions for that console out of the gate, as far as like bringing over PlayStation, bringing over Xbox, all of those things, like the larger scale games and all that, becoming like a first party IP and kid friendly and fun, family friendly, but also like maybe out of the gate being a little bit more of a quote unquote gamer console, and giving people the opportunity to have like kind of engage that way with it and say, look, we're especially now with the culture changing, with this shift with Xbox and everything potentially going on. You know what I mean? To kind of make it like this Sony versus PlayStation, Sony versus Nintendo thing. Kind of interesting, man. Especially if you've been gaming for 50 years and you've been watching everything play out. It's so crazy where we are now.
Yeah, it's a lot of Man, it's funny. When I was talking to Maddie yesterday, we recorded Summon Sign. I was like, I feel like when Microsoft bought Bethesda, that was like a turning point, which obviously that's a Microsoft thing, but it feels like that was like a shift where like everything is chaos now. It's like anything's possible.
It's exciting.
I was thinking just another thought about the VRR display. And I wonder if that would be really interesting, because you think about how a lot of Switch games that struggle to reach 60 FPS and maybe they dip down in between, ideally be 30 to 60, and they kind of can juggle all over the place. And seeing how much VRR helps on like a PC with a VRR display, or if you have a newer TV, I think that would it wouldn't fix the problem of some games not running maybe as well if they're cross gen, but it would certainly help smooth out the look in a lot of these games. And I could see that being pretty interesting, pretty appealing. But let's shift gears a tiny bit, still talking about the next Switch. From Adam D. Jorgensen writes into us. He says, "Hey guys, Punching Up revitalized my love for the Nintendo Switch in the past few months, and I'm very excited about its successor. I've been driving into the Nintendo Switch Online games catalog, or diving and not driving it, damn. Driving into the store to play through a lot of older classics that I've never beat. So far, I've completed Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Metroid NES, Metroid 2, and I'm currently playing through Super Metroid. Do you guys think Nintendo Switch Online retro games catalog will continue on the Super Switch and be expanded? The retro game catalog is not mentioned enough for how great the value is, and I'm excited about the possibility of additional systems added in the future. Thanks, Adam." So this is another Nintendo thing where you're like, surely on launch day, all the work that you've done for Nintendo Switch Online backwards compatibility will just be available. Surely. This is Nintendo, though, we're talking about. This is Nintendo, and nothing is promised. Nothing. So I'm always just preparing myself for the worst. But ultimately, I think it would probably transfer over. But, Micah, what do you think about this? As far as, I've always thought that GameCube could happen, but there's too much of an opportunity cost that you could remaster those games and sell them for $60 a pop instead of just putting them on Nintendo Switch Online. But there's other possibilities too, as far as handhelds and whatnot. So what do you think? Are we seeing just, we've only seen the beginning of Nintendo Switch Online?
Yeah, I'm definitely with you that I think the logical step is that this will continue to the next console, that they will continue to expand the library, especially as you mentioned. I think there are titles that they are better off remastering, like Super Mario RPG, for example. People absolutely loved the remade version of it. That was a really great example of, here's a game that, yes, you could go play it, but it's difficult. We've remade it for you. For all the complaints I saw of, all they're doing is just remaking these old games. And it's like, yeah, but it was awesome. And for someone like me who never played it, it was the perfect way to do so. So I think there's a lot of retro titles that they should continue to actually do like full remakes of. And then they can totally, for more obscure games that maybe they aren't sure they'd sell enough to justify it, put them into the online marketplace there and let you play it in the retro version. So I think that is something that will continue. But it would be so Nintendo for them to be like, all the retro games that are available on Switch, they're going to stay there, and different ones will be available on the next Switch. It would be so them to do something stupid like that instead of bringing the whole catalog over. They won't do that. I don't want to speak that into existence. They're going to do the normal thing, and they're going to let you play the games over there, and they're going to keep adding more. I have to believe that they're going to do the normal, logical thing, because otherwise, it would just be absolute madness to either get rid of this service or to stop adding more to it. It does get such positive feedback from their players. I really can't see them getting rid of it or, discontinuing the service and not adding more to it. They have to, right?
Yeah. I think of when new 3DS came out, and if I recall correctly, there was a thing where they said, hey, new 3DS will be able to play Super Nintendo games, and you can buy them on the shop, but the normal 3DS can't, which is purely just a move to gate. Like, there's no technical reason why a standard 3DS couldn't play fucking Earthbound, but they did that. So, Dag, I wonder if there's possibilities for, I think GameCube is the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, but I think about also, like, could you figure out a way to put Wii titles in there somehow? Could you figure out Nintendo DS, maybe 3DS, now that you shut down the store on that? And maybe, just maybe, we get Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Boy support.
Come on, stop burying it, Nintendo. You gotta kind of nod your failures and your wins, right? You can't just. I hate that. Like, get Virtual Boy out of the vault type of thing. Yeah, man, you read my mind with the Wii. I mean, first of all, I have to congratulate Adam. Proud of you, man. You're going back, playing these games, knowing your roots, like I always say. That's pretty cool. I kind of love it. And also, I just want to pat us on the back, you guys, because I do think there's something to that. Like, during these slow, fallow times, I think a podcast like ours does kind of breathe some life into the Nintendo universe. Instead of shades of tumbleweeds, we're here trying to keep the excitement going. We're trying to kind of extend the momentum. And I hope we're doing a good job at that. For me, I think there's always something to talk about, but I just go on and on. So that's my thing. I think you got to keep it going with the online, with Nintendo Online, and nodding to everything that's come before. GameCube, I would love to see. Selfishly, my GameCube backlog is a lumberyard. I mean, it's like embarrassing. So I would love it just from a selfish perspective to see GameCube. I think we're ripe for Wii. This is 20 years now. It's retro. Kids need to play these games. Give them some Mario. I know Mario Galaxy. I know Skyward Sword. Those are going to get the HD remasters and everything like that. They're ripe for that. But like Mike is saying, the more obscure, lesser titles, throw them on there. Even if you're going to do the expansion pack thing, added cost, like now you pay a little more. You get to play GBA, get to play Genesis. So just do that with the GameCube. Do that with the Wii. And keep that momentum going. And still do, give us, don't sunset N64 and NES and SNES. We want all that. Bring it over. Just build it. And yeah, man, I think it's funny. I even think because we're still in that period, and this period may be ending soon, where we don't know what Nintendo's doing, what they're going to do with their next console, when they're going to announce it for, or when this new Nintendo Switch 2 will be out. So is this another way they could kind of extend the lifespan of the Switch just by saying, okay, we'll throw some combination of a new game, plus we're going to throw GameCube onto, to Switch GameCube access. Here's some games. I don't know. It could be, in other words, it could be a way for them to buy time between now and the next console. And I don't see that as being off the table. It could be an easy move with a couple of HD remakes maybe mixed in. Maybe that buys them another 8 months.
Yeah, Nintendo launches historically, at least I can think of the recent ones, can be pretty slim on content. It was okay for the Switch because they had Zelda. Yes. And I think that sustained people greatly. But man, the Wii U launch, it was like Super Mario Bros. U,
right?
That Nintendo Land game.
What else was on
Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed, which is kind of interesting, but not so strong. So getting those extra things around the side, sweeten the deal, and having an expanded Nintendo Switch Online right out the gate would be amazing. But we'll see what they end up doing. Moving on to number 2 is Super Nintendo World officially confirmed. It's coming to Universal Epic Universe in Orlando next year. So I was learning a little bit about this Epic Universe. And it's its own park that has mini parks within it. So I saw like there's a How to Train Your Dragon world. There's an additional Harry Potter world that's based on the Ministry of Magic. That sounds super cool. There's like their monster universe that they tried to do and then failed. They're resurrecting, making it a theme park. And then, of course, Nintendo World. But what's really interesting about this kind of big debut is that on the Epic Universe website, they mentioned going to Donkey Kong Country. So this will be ready to go. It makes sense. They're already in construction. They're going to get this. We already know about the Donkey Kong Country part of the Japanese park in Osaka, but it's confirmed this will be the US version will be here. So obviously it was expected that Florida was going to be getting Nintendo World, but nice to get some confirmation and that it will be you won't be getting, in theory, a lesser experience than the Osaka version that has the Donkey Kong park as well. So the question I have for you guys is, when is the punching up trip to Florida next year when this thing opens? I don't know, Micah, are you down? I've never been to Florida.
Oh, see, I've been to Florida once. Lovely place. I enjoyed it. But theme parks, man, are like my least favorite thing in the world. It's a combination of all the things I hate. Heights, crowds, it's just long bathroom lines. It's just, there's nothing about, like, I haven't been to a theme park probably since 2010, maybe. It's just not my scene. I know I would go to see the sights, have food, because I always see, like, for example, like Tokyo Disney World, and they have like all the cute foods and everything. I'm like, this looks awesome. I would go for that aspect, but like rides are not my thing, especially not the Donkey Kong ride that like jumps a gap. I don't want to be on that thing. All right, that's not for me. So theme parks in general are really not my speed, but to see the Nintendo one in person would be pretty sweet. Like I would maybe check it out, but you're not really going to get me on any rides besides whatever generic like teacup spinning ride they might have, or some sort of small Dumbo-esque, coaster, whatever they do Nintendo themed on that level. I can handle like children's rides, but
Sure.
anything that's more hardcore, I'm already out. I can't do it.
I think you would be, so we could, I can't, the people thing, it's going to be packed constantly for years and years. So that's going to be a problem. There's, at least in the Osaka park, there is the Yoshi ride, which is literally just you ride on a Yoshi through a very slow path, and then you go through a little tunnel. So there's that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
There's the Mario Kart ride, which it basically the thrill aspect is that it spins when you get hit with a shell, and you wear like an AR headset, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I think you could do that. Donkey Kong one, maybe not so much, but Dag, I think we might be brewing here. How do we get Colin to pay for not only me? I think you take your family. We make it a full work expense.
Oh yeah, we're staying at the
paid
Four
vacation,
Seasons, the whole thing.
It's for content. It's content. We have to. This is what the people need from us.
We have to vlog the whole thing. That would be it. Like, he'd pay for it, but we'd have to do a series of vlogs in order for that to be actual work.
Fair. I
mean, we'll just pay someone to come and film us there. I mean, and then someone else pay them to edit it. All we have to do is just have fun and then record us having fun, I think.
Yep, exactly. Put a GoPro on one of the children. Have them follow us around. This is all set. Choice. It's all set.
They want to go? Yeah. You want to go have fun? Uncle Kyle's going to foot the bill. I mean, I think we got a shot. I think we could sell this to him. I really do. I think the Super Nintendo world, I was thinking about you, Dusk, because I know you were over there. And I briefly knew we were going to talk about this, so I was checking out the official websites for both parks. And I have to say, it still kind of tickles my funny bone that it's called Super Nintendo World, because I just expect everything to be 16-bit themed, gray and purple. Like, why do they call it that? Why don't they just call it like Nintendo World or Nintendo Fun World or something? Like, I'm a kid of the 90s. Like, I can't get the Super Nintendo out of my head. But I got to tell you, I would love to see a theme park based purely around the SNES. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would be a dream come true. Can I workshop the Yoshi ride why don't they do a little interactivity where you hit a button and you use the tongue to grab stuff? That'd be so fun.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Disney has that Buzz Lightyear ride where you're shooting, it's all virtual, but you're shooting targets as you
Is that
go
a
around.
Toy Story Mania? Is that what it's
Yes,
called?
that's right. Yeah, which is super fun. I love it. But yeah, man, I'm down. The only other question I had for you, Dust, because from experience, and I'm not sure about the U.S. park, the one down in Florida, but is there nothing Zelda themed at all?
That's the ironic part, Dag. It's called Super Nintendo World, and in the park, at least in the Japanese one, and I'm pretty sure this is the case currently in the Los Angeles one, and probably for Florida as well, is that it is Mario. You are at Peach's Castle. You ride, as I said, the Mario Kart ride. There's the Yoshi ride, who's also part of the Mario verse. And now they're going to add Donkey Kong, which is a little, but they're pretty close.
They're close, yeah.
They're boys. Adjacent, so they're adjacent. The only kind of extra outside Nintendo thing is that there are Pikmin secretly in different locations around the park. That's
adorable.
And it's so cute. That. You can find them. They'll be like up on top of a block in a distance, and you can see them. Cool. It's like a little Easter egg throughout the park as the Pikmin. But that's cute. That's it. No
Kirby, no
Zelda,
no nothing. Just I get it, and I love Mario as next, as much as the next guy. But even Disney has Star Wars now, right? They got the little Star Wars land in there. It's lame. I don't like it, but they got it. They finally put it in. They have to honor the other things, right? All right. I don't know how I feel about that. Not even in the gift shop. No Zelda stuff, merch.
I don't think so.
Damn it.
No.
All right.
Yeah. Nothing like that. I think surely they're eyeing. I feel like
you'd have the older kids. If you just put a little Zelda in there, they would be patient with their little bros and sisters as they went around the park. Because kids at a certain age, they have to act like they don't like Mario anymore, right? They love it. You're 13 years old, you got to act like you're over it. You're not. You're in that sort of bittersweet period where you're supposed to be growing up. You left that whole loss of childhood. They should have a loss of childhood part of the park.
You scratched my memory here a bit, Day, because this was just like a week ago that there were some rumors floating around about that the series producer of Zelda posted, or he was in. They showed him in one of the videos for Epic Universe, like he was wearing the yellow construction thing and a hard hat. And they're like, what are you? Is there something going on here? Is there a Zelda related thing happening?
Some nerds found that.
Some nerds found
I love you guys.
Oyinuma in the video.
I love it.
So maybe maybe it won't be. Maybe you're not too far off from this possibility, but we'll keep an eye on it. 2025 for Epic Universe, and for the Last Stand punching up trip to Florida. So look forward to that. Oh, and we got a write in here from Brian Walsh, who says, "Good day, mother punchers." Whoa. I recently took a trip to LA to participate in the Nationals tournament for none other than the One Piece card game. Shout out to fellow One Piece enjoyer Dustin. Whoa. By the way, got a little bias. Brian has been my One Piece guy. One Piece card game guy that I message. He's showed me a bunch of tricks about the game, stuff like that, and he's going out competing in the Nationals.
Holy
for
shit,
One Piece.
He must be good.
Super cool. Oh yeah, we were on Discord and we were playing the One Piece card game simulator, and he was explaining stuff to me, and I was like, I was getting it, but he had so much information that I was like, how do I even consume this all? Like he's on X Games mode when it comes to the One Piece card game. Really,
how do you
really,
get that good
really
at
interesting.
That?
Dude, he plays like 3 days a week.
Wow.
Where he goes to different stores and plays.
Yeah, they do it at the
and
comic book shop and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I wanted to play locally. The closest one to me is like an hour drive, which I was still considering doing and I would like to do, but I'm like, man, it's an hour commitment to go and make a fool of myself playing against these people. So I'm a little nervous about it. And it's on Saturday too. And it's like, that's my It's my day to try to bum around.
I don't know. You're calling yourself a One Piece fan right now, Dust. I'm going to call you out. It's an hour away. Do you know what a pirate would do to get to that?
I mean, I'm going to sail there. I'm going to figure that out. Go by water. But okay, so he actually said, however, my trip included a mandatory stop at Universal. Therein, I found Super Nintendo World for the first time and was utterly taken back by the level of intricacy and immersion on display. Do any of you have any experience with Super Nintendo World? I was most impressed by the app integration and the incredibly interactive leaderboard and sticker system, basically trophies for doing activities in the park. Makes me wonder, where is the sticker system for the Switch catalog as a whole? Thanks for the great work as always. So we've talked in depth about the Switch getting some kind of achievement system, but I meant to load up. I was going to see if I could show you guys my achievements from the park, and there is like a whole leaderboard system where you can see like who's done the most. There's people that clearly have season pass tickets that it's like the monthly leaderboard and stuff like that. Dang it, I can't do it because I need to rescan my band since I got a new phone. But yeah, there's like this whole app that shows you the different locations. And then right now it's just showing like the default rank, but there is, like all these like leaderboard systems and these badges that you collect from doing various things and scanning it. That's how they get you. That's so
cute.
If you go to Super Nintendo World and you don't buy the stupid $30 band, you are getting a fraction of the experience.
That. Yeah. You got to you got to pay a little extra to get the full experience. Very Nintendo. Let's be honest. They're very on brand with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we talked about our experience with Super Nintendo World, but I wanted to bring that up because I do think it's an interesting aspect. And congrats, Brian, to having the balls to go out to Los Angeles and compete. That's something I don't have the balls to. I don't have the balls to go out an hour away and compete. So
you're gonna do
shout
it.
out to you. Hope you had a great time.
What if Chris Chan was there? I mean, just think about that. Celebrity sightings could happen.
That actually could happen if I lived where you do.
Yeah, that's
because do you remember this was last year, someone in our Discord posted, they were like, hey, I went to my Magic the Gathering tournament and Chris Chan was there, and they posted a picture. And I was like, no, you fucking got this on Google, bro. And so I reversed image searched it, and it was legit. Like this Chris Chan sighting appeared in our Discord. So I don't know if Chris Chan's a One Piece fan though. I think his heart is taken by
even odds
by
on
Sonic.
That, though.
Yeah,
50-50.
Yeah, something to think about for sure. We have a bunch of quickies this week to get into, guys. Some of these are a little off the wall, but first of all, big PSA, big sale on the eShop going on right now called the Jumpstart January sale. And there are some, I wrote Animal Crossing on the doc here because I just wanted to make sure I had games. Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Zelda Skyward Sword, and more. I know those 3 games are 30% off. So not very often that you see Nintendo first party games go on sale. So if you want those, check it out. Good deals going on. Next one, there is also, speaking of the eShop, there's a demo for Mario versus Donkey Kong available on there if you want to check that out. We've talked about that game a little bit here and there, but if you want to check out the demo, I need to do that because I don't know. I've seen the gameplay for this, and I understand it's more puzzle-ish.
Light puzzle light, yeah. Dude, it's adorable. So that demo is...
So you played the demo?
It's fucking adorable. It's only 10 minutes. They let you play like 3 levels and like an end level, like a toy box level. Dude, it's so cute. I forgot, like, there's just little things in the mechanics that make it different than the other platforming stuff. Besides the puzzle elements, there's little things like you have to press a button in order to pick up items. It's not just a hitbox thing. So if you want, you could walk over something unless you actively pick it up. He does his jump. Mario's jump's not very dynamic. You're kind of limited by that. So God, dude, those mini Marios, those little clockwork toy Marios are so friggin' cute. It's I'm in. Just on the demo, I was like, oh nice. Shit, I'm gonna play this game. It's just fun. You know, it's most of the stuff is just single screen. You know, again, it looks like those end levels scroll a little bit, so they're a little larger environments. But yeah, it's just something that's just a little different. You put a little twist on the mechanics, it just makes it completely different. And the nods to Donkey Kong. I know I've talked about that before, but you could pick up the mallet and smash enemies like in the original Donkey Kong. It gives you that little sting, the music from the original game. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely interested in checking out. I mean, it's a free demo. Why not go and check it out? Micah, I thought this one would appeal to you specifically for some reason, and I meant to put a link in the doc, but I put a link in the chat so you guys can see this. And that is Hyperkin has new third-party Switch controllers and cases featuring official partnerships with Oscar Mayer, Sriracha, and Kool-Aid. And so I'll put a little, let me put a photo here just so I remember to put a screenshot in the show. You can see there's a hot dog controller. I think that's probably the most striking one. The iconic Sriracha Rooster, and then the classic Kool-Aid Man. So, Micah, as the hot dog queen of are you the hot dog? I mean, I know Collins, you guys do hot dog nights regularly. So
yeah, man, I love hot dogs.
Is this speaking to you in any way?
Absolutely. Do I need another controller? No. But this case, I'm pretty
nice.
sold on this Switch case right now. Partly because Treble has chewed mine, and it still works, but it's all fucked up. So like, I would love to get this hot dog case here. Now this is pretty swanky. The controller, God, how do you say no to the controller? Just look at it. I'm all about this. They're all cool, but the hot dog is definitely like the best one to me. Like the Kool-Aid one just kind of looks like a juice box like design. Like, it's not really, I don't know. They could have made it red with like his face on it or something, and it's kind of like just they took the graphics from like a Kool-Aid container and just put it on the controller.
Yeah, that's a good point, Micah. That's a good. I love these tie-ins, like these product tie-ins, these collabs, because they're so old school. Like they're so 80s. Do you guys remember, like, I don't know if it was like 10 or 15 years ago, Disney temporarily sent out this edict, like, we no longer associate ourselves with unhealthy food, and they pulled out of like McDonald's Happy Meals. I think they have since returned, realized they shot themselves in the foot financially. But I love this kind of aligning with junk food, because it's like, this is the world we grew up with. It doesn't have to be organic. Oscar Mayer.
Yeah, it's not Annie's mac and cheese. Right. It's Oscar Mayer hot dogs.
This is old school, baby.
So yeah, those are available. Micah, I think the justification here is, first of all, new case, yours is shredded. So that's easy.
Yes.
Easy justification. $20. The controller has a proper D-pad on it for when you're playing 2D games. If you don't. So if you're looking for a controller that has a proper D-pad, I mean, there you go.
These are cool.
So pretty fun. Check those out on the Hyperkin store if you're interested. Last but not least, another food tie-in. Nintendo is partnering with Capri Sun and will feature Nintendo games on the pouches. And there's also a contest they're calling the Slurp and Win sweepstakes, where they're giving away 500 Nintendo Switches away if you win. So slurp them up. Get those Capri Suns.
Are they custom Switches, like Capri Sun Switches?
I don't think so. I think there was a thing so the image, let me see if I can find it here. The image showed the like different games. So there's like a Mario Kart one, there's an Animal Crossing one. And I think the thing is, like, whatever one you win with, you get that game, I think. So here's another link for you guys here to check out. See these Capri Suns.
Yeah, I knew about this only because my sister buys Capri Sun for her children, and she called me the other day and said, I started playing Animal Crossing again because I saw it on the kids' Capri Sun pouch. And I said, I haven't played that in a while. And she's like, no, I'm hooked all over again. I ended up making a joke, though. I was like, I haven't played in a while. My villagers probably all died. And she was like, can that happen? And I was like, no. It was just one of those, like, it's almost like I just told like my kid brother that, the Pokemon all die if you don't take care of them. And he was like, what? So I had to put her at ease and say, no, they don't actually die. They don't even move away anymore if you neglect them. They all just hang out in your town forever. But it was funny to me of like, wow, even she's gotten back into Animal Crossing because of this marketing that they're doing. So it's definitely working and working on people they probably didn't even expect.
Yeah. I honestly, here's the thing. I'm not smart, and I just see a Pikmin 4 Capri Sun, and I thought, I kind of want to have that. I don't need to buy it and collect it and display it, but it's been a while since I've had a Capri Sun.
It's so good. I love Capri Sun.
They're really good. I remember when I was a kid drinking them, and like me and my friends hanging out drinking them, and then you'd leave one in one room, and then you'd go get another, and your dad's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Here, you got these half drank Capri Sun. You got new ones. What are you guys doing?" You know, like a very Western PA dad thing. We were leaving drinks all over the place. But yeah, Dig, does this are you getting some Capri Sun for the kids? Your kids are a little out of the Capri Sun. I mean, do you ever age out?
No, that's interesting that you say that. They did age out. Like, and I don't know if it probably was an aging out thing because you have to keep up appearances in the cafeteria now. You're in junior high school, right? But also I think it was the exact opposite of how we grew up. Like, we weren't allowed to eat and drink that much junky stuff. Like, my parents were really ahead of the curve in the 70s and 80s with that. Like, they were like, you limit it. You could have soda on when you go to grandma's, but you're not drinking it at home, that type of thing. My kids drank a lot of juice, and they like water now. And I think they just ran juice into the ground for themselves. Like, because they were allowed to have it whenever they wanted, type of thing. They drank a lot of organic stuff. Not that it's any different with the sugar. It's still sugar. But yeah, I think it's so funny to see them at 13 and 16 being like, yeah, we'll just have water or seltzer or something, you know, like they just totally, yeah. So now when I buy that stuff, I can't even hide under there. You know, I can't even hide behind, well, it's for the kids type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I remember specifically that I felt like when I had Capri Sun with my lunch when I was a kid that I was still thirsty. Like, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But then they answered that with a product called Capri Sun Big Pouch.
I don't know this.
There was an iced tea variant of that. Big fan of Capri Sun in general. So I haven't had, I guess I'm not really a big fan because I haven't had it in years, but.
Oh, this surprises me greatly because I really never stopped buying juice boxes, including when I worked like at a college and I'd bring my lunch and I'd still throw a juice box in there. Like, they're convenient, they're shelf stable. Everything about juice boxes is just perfect for bringing to an office. You know, like I never felt weird about it in high school having like my Apple and Eve juice boxes or Capri Sun, whatever it was. It was like, I brought my lunch, I brought my drink. You know, this is perfect. But yeah, I do, like, I'll have them in the house and it's like, oh, it's for when the nieces and nephews come over. But it's for me. I drink them all. Nobody else is. No, we don't even have the children here. It's not even summertime. But who else is going to drink the Capri Suns besides me?
I like it.
Dude, I don't see any problem with that. In fact, I feel like I'm feeling compelled that I'm going to go get some of these Capri Sun. Why not?
Get them in the freezer, like half slushy. Summertime. Oh, it's delicious.
Oh, dude. I don't know about
just
this.
Make them half slushy. Don't freeze them up. Just like half frozen, then you take it out on a hot day. Micah, you go out by the pool. Your half frozen Capri Sun.
No, this sounds awesome.
Maybe mix a little vodka in it. I'm not saying alcohol has to be involved. Doesn't. But it could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Cameron, you wrote in about Mario versus Donkey Kong. I was a bad host and forgot that had a question for that, but thank you for writing in. I wanted to acknowledge you. But that's it for our quickies. And let's move into what we've been playing. And let's go ahead. Let's start with Dagan here. But Dagan, before you start, I want to read in from Lee is Cool Jenkins, who says, "Hey, PU crew, I got to say a big thanks to Dagan. His waxing lyrical about Link's Awakening on the last show gave me the push to go back to it. I picked it up back in 2019, played a few hours and fell off. But I have to say, these last few days, I've been loving my time on that weird little island. I'm currently on the final dungeon, and it'll be my first 2D Zelda game I've ever finished. My Zelda journey began with Ocarina of Time, but after this, I think I'll go back and check out the earlier titles. So my question is, which classic Legend of Zelda title should I try next? Thanks. punchers. Dagan says here you're still playing Link's Awakening. So thoughts on that, and where should he go as a new lover of old school Zelda games?
I love this. So I'm not going to recommend anything newer than Ocarina. I'd have to recommend something older than that. I think that's what they're saying. Because I would definitely say I'm obsessed with Wind Waker lately because it's been so long. But this who wrote into us, Dust? What was the name again?
Lee is Cool Jenkins.
Lee, yeah. So if you have played Wind Waker, you could take that one off the table. You could go back to anything older, like the first 3 Zelda games, 2 on NES and Link to the Past on the SNES, are just amazing. It's interchangeable. You could start with I could justify starting with any one of those. Maybe Zelda 1 over Zelda 2. And then Link to the Past might be the next spiritual successor for you because that's the next step backward. You know, with that Link's Awakening, 2019 Link Awakening remake, you know, like Zelda on the Switch was like the Zelda sandwich. It was the 2 pieces of bread, and Link's Awakening came in the middle, you know, and the bread was boring. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, whatever. But Link's Awakening was the meat. That came right in between this. That was so it's so good. And yeah, that he makes a good point too. Like you know, that is a non-Hyrule adventure, that game. So it's just so fun. It's just I know I talk about cartoony Zelda all the time, but I love that kind of whimsical Zelda. Ghibli Zelda is great too.
Yeah,
but I give me the cartoony Zelda all day. Yeah. So I'm still playing that. You know, I don't know why. I think I keep getting distracted by other things. You know, now there was a lot of interchanging on the Switch between Link's and Prince of Persia, which I'm still playing, which is so fun. And then Colin and I started to play Final Fantasy VII Remake for Knockback. I think it's the Knockback that we're going to do 3 weeks from now. So I got to put in like 3 hours a day on that. Of course, I'm playing that on PlayStation 4. I bought it back in 2020. I might have bought it in 2021. I might have been a little late on that one, but it's been sitting there. So with Rebirth coming out and everything, it's like, all right, maybe this is the time to love the original game. So yeah, those are the 3 that I got going on. 3 games is a lot for me. I kind of feel like I'm in the weeds. I'm not good with multitasking, but I'm going to try my best.
I definitely feel that, and right now is just a tough time with how many games there are coming out that are very much appealing to my interests. Micah, you've got something new on here, so tell us about it.
Yes. So I finished Dave the Diver over the weekend. I finally beat the story mode. I had put that game in timeout because I got really frustrated with it one day. I had a total like Minecraft experience of like I had my inventory full of stuff, ended up getting eaten by a shark. You know, when you die, you can only bring 1 item back to the surface. And that happens. You know, it's one of those like, yeah, in my hubris, I shouldn't have tried to go after that shark, whatever. But it was just that day I was getting fed up with the game, and then that happened, and I was like, you know what? And I just didn't touch it. I said, I'm done with this for now. But I realized, you know, consulting just a walkthrough like chapter list, I was like, I'm so close to the end of this game. I have to just finish it. So finally got through that, the final boss fights and all. Very cute little story in the game. I'd still recommend it, even though there are parts that annoyed me about some of the gameplay, especially towards the end. But the overall experience is still excellent, and I really loved Dave the Diver. It was a great game to play, and one that I'll go back to just for the loop of diving and running the restaurant, because that's still fun. But since I finished Dave the Diver, I finally started Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which has just been incredible, because alongside playing Persona 3 Portable, that's what it's called, alongside playing that, you know, big story game, I wanted to have something arcadey again, like Dave the Diver on the side. So playing Kirby, you know, Return to Dreamland Deluxe, it's just perfect. Everything about this game, it's just so uplifting. It's colorful. It's cute. The music is awesome. I never played the game on Wii. That came out 2011, I think. And that's when it's like, I'm between high school and college, did not have a lot of money. Nintendo games not going down in price. Like, it was when I had to be so selective about what games I could afford, and playing so much that was just like, oh, GameStop has the 5 for $20 on used games again. We're just going to get a bunch of weird shit like Saboteur and all these odd games, whatever we can find for cheap. And instead of playing things I like really wanted to play, it was just finding games I could afford to play. So that was one I missed out on, and it's just been adorable. I mean, they have these really cool sort of like super power-ups that you can find in certain levels that, like, Kirby, instead of just being the normal sword fighter, he has like a mega sword that like cuts through everything at once on screen. And it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it. Story is minimal, like most of these Nintendo like platformers, and I'm liking it for that. You just pick it up, play a few stages, go back to my big story game that I'm working on the side, essentially. It's exactly what I needed for right now as I'm going through something that's pretty serious. Like Persona 3 has a really involved story, and I don't know, the boss fights and stuff can be pretty tricky. It's that perfect in-between game to take a break with, and it's just completely different tone and style. It is just, it really is just like taking a trip to, I don't know, like Friendly's, the ice cream store, and just have it. It's light, it's friendly, it's fun. Everything about it is awesome so far. And it's a difficulty level that I can manage because, I'm disappointed in myself that I'm not better at Mario Wonder, but I'm just not. And I also don't want to play as the baby characters that just don't get hurt. I don't want to do that either. But the reality is that game is really tricky for someone who's not great at platformers. And this one is much more my speed. I can handle the bosses. I can handle this level of platforming. So I'm absolutely loving this and definitely recommend it to all the Kirby fans out there.
Hell yeah. Nice to always hear Kirby getting some love on this show. For me, the main thing has been Persona 3 Reload. Not available on Switch, though there was some rumors that it may end up there eventually. We'll see. And it's awesome. It's so fun. I'm having a great time. It feels good to be playing a Persona game again. And just a lot of improvements across the board. One of the big issues with the PlayStation 2 version, not the portable version, is that you couldn't control your party members. So they just kind of did whatever. And so they fixed that. You can control individual party members. They've added some Persona 5 mechanics to the game, such as like if you down an enemy by hitting their weakness, you'll be able to do a handoff and use a different character to maybe hit a different enemy's weakness. So it kind of gets this flow going. And it's just been a really nice time going back to this game. We just did on Summon Sign, me, Maddie, and Brad talked about this game for a long, long time. So I'll save you guys here from my weebdom of Persona 3 and just give you the overall general saying, if you're interested, it's very, very good. If you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass, it's available on Game Pass. And I think that's great. I want as many people as possible to check this game out. Hopefully a Switch release in the future at some point. But for now, you're going to have to get it on Xbox, PC, or PlayStation 4 and 5, I think. So, Dagan, we have a segment from you. And originally we had planned what we had talked about last episode with Gene, but not here. But you said you're good.
Yeah,
you said you're ready to pivot at a moment's notice. This man is a professional. So, Dagan, take it away.
There's always something to do a game. Listen, I had a lot of training with Knockback back in the day. And because we don't have the fourth Ninja Turtle here today, R.I.P. Gene, I think it's me, right? Cog did this, was it 2 weeks ago on Constellation? It might be me. It might be the Dagan effect. I kind of take responsibility for this. And maybe the Ninja Turtle thing. What's the Nintendo equivalent? Oh, we could be Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad, right?
Yeah, Gene's going to want to be Peach, though. Sorry, Micah. You're going to have to be...
I like Toad. Yeah. That's fine.
Holly would want to be Toad, too. Holly loves
Toad is the freaking best.
Toad.
He's so cute.
He's the absolute best. This is going to play into what we're going to do here. So we did have a little bit of a spiritual successor sort of segment that I wanted to do, kind of loosely connected to the last one we did, but we'll put that on ice for now. and we'll wait for Gene to come back. So I just thought we'd do this. Why don't everybody just pick, all three of us will pick a favorite Nintendo character. I'm talking about first party IP or closely associated with that. But let's each pick 3. Now, you could either write them down to remember or keep them in your head. And then let's list off 3 apiece, and then we'll try to guess what each other says. I think just guessing one of each other's is a victory. Maybe the other ones are bonus points. So let's guess 3 just to make it a little easier. Like we'll take 3 shots at the target and maybe we'll hit one. Okay, so take a moment. Think about your first, your top 3 list of Nintendo characters, classic Nintendo characters. Now, I would say first party IP, we're all clear on that, but let's avoid the Smash Brothers collabs. Like, don't say Pac-Man, even though because he's in Smash. Like that, let's avoid that because it's too hard. Let's narrow it down a little bit. And what else should I say? I know it's kind of a little bit of an iffy thing, but I would say we could include Fire Emblem because that's developed by Intelligent Systems, right? But published by Nintendo. And I honestly, you guys may be able to answer this. Is Fire Emblem owned by Nintendo? I really don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They are.
Definitely.
Okay. So it does belong to Nintendo, even though it's developed outside. Okay. Which means Intelligent Systems belongs to Nintendo then. Okay. I never knew that. That's a blind spot for me.
I believe
That's a blind spot for me. Okay. When you guys feel comfortable, we could start.
Okay. I've written down my 3. I don't know if Mike is
All
right.
right. I got my 3. Okay. Now, Micah, Dustin will reveal his, but first I want you to guess his. All right?
All right. For Dustin, I'm going to guess Wario. I'm going to say Rosalina. And then I'm going to throw in Mr. Resetti.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you know what? It was probably that fucking KK slider that I hate so much. It was
that
probably
motherfucker, that deadbeat with the guitar.
I hate him so much.
All right, Dustin, did Micah connect on any of these? What's your top 3?
My top 3 are Shy Guy. My dude. Always pick him for Mario Kart. I don't know if I want to preface. I didn't pick these are my favorite characters. I like that they're obscure.
Love that one.
But I love Mario too. I mean, it's like if you put a gun to my head, but these are the 3 I picked. You're just gotta accept it. So Shy Guy, Poochie, because I find it hilarious that Yoshi has a Yoshi. And it's this little dog with a giant tongue. Who said, why does Yoshi need to ride something?
I love that.
He does. And it's a dog.
Very meta.
So named Poochie. Then I thought I can't just do obscure characters. So of the main ones, got to go with my boy Bowser.
Oh,
the power.
Goodness.
Now, Micah was very close to putting Rosalina down because she has something special going on. She's got
she's a special lady.
She's a little mysterious blonde girl. Okay.
I always love the flop.
I think I've said enough.
I always love the flop hair. So good.
I thought your love of WarioWare that he would be on there. Where how do you not love him?
I do. I don't. It's funny because I don't know if my connection to WarioWare games are because of him. I mean,
he's the best part. He's farting on screen. He's making obscene gestures.
Yeah,
all right.
He likes garlic.
I think I heard him say the N-word one time.
I'm pretty sure.
Nintendo tried to blot that out. They paid Google to wipe the search results on the infamous Wario N-word situation. So, Nintendo's never going to work with us now. But yeah, Shy Guy is legitimate. I always pick Shy Guy when I play Mario Kart.
I mean,
I was so scared of him when I was a kid.
Creepy.
Like, the Shy Guys terrified me. And I think I'm not afraid of them anymore, but I don't like them still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just find them so unsettling. And it's like, I'm not playing as that ever.
What's under the mask?
No one
knows.
I don't know. I don't like to think about it.
I think from first looks at Mario versus Donkey Kong. Those are the little wind up minions that Donkey Kong sends out. Like those are the little clockwork minions are little robotic shy guys, which are so crazy how those became a staple dating all the way back to one of the weirdest offshoot Nintendo games with SMB2, and then it just became a mainstay. So cool. All right, Micah, you got the goose egg, but this is a hard game. This is a tough one. All right, Micah, now I want you to reverse it on Dustin. Now you're going to tell us your three, but first Dustin's going to make his 3 picks.
Okay. We got to go Kirby because of what you said, talking about how much you loved him earlier. If I really want to be safe, I should say Toad too, but I got a little advantage there because we didn't know the game.
No.
So I'm not going to say Toad.
Oh.
I'm not going to take the cheap way out. Maybe I should, though. I don't know.
That's a baller move.
Kirby. Now I don't know what to pick other than Toad. Okay, fuck it. I'm picking Toad.
What I realized is we've actually never played Mario Kart, Mario Party together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things when you were oh, I always pick him for Mario Kart. And it's I never would have known. I wouldn't have known.
Okay, so Kirby, Toad, and my boy, someone I also considered, Captain Olimar.
Oh, that's a good guess. All right, Micah, how did Dustin do?
Here's what happens when you ask me a question about myself and my mind goes blank and I forget everything I've ever liked because I forgot about Kirby immediately. He should have been on
We just talked about him.
Wow.
I know, but if you ask me a question what's your favorite band, and I'm like Weezer, I don't even like them that much, but it's just the first thing that comes to mind. So,
sure.
Now one of my favorites, Waluigi, who I always pick for anything, a Mario Kart, Mario Party. If he's in there, I'm playing as Waluigi. That's my locked in character.
Sure.
Toadette, specifically Toadette.
I thought about that.
It's Toad, but the little pigtails. She has the same gruff smoker's voice, she's been smoking a pack a day for 40 years, and she just looks like a little toddler.
That's
it's
a good
perfect.
One.
Toadette, definitely on the list. And Tom Nook. He's a crook. He's a bad man. He's saddled you with all this debt. He's put you in a sketchy situation in which you owe him your life. I love it. I love every part of it. I love the idea that we're putting children into this system in which they are experiencing great stress and anxiety.
Micah, find someone who's going to give you an interest-free loan that you can for your house that you can just pay whenever you want. I dare you.
Or just never pay it. If you don't want to upgrade your house, you just don't pay it.
I think Tom Nook, he's been put in the wrong light. Okay.
Oh, it's a great
He's taking care of his grandsons, giving them gainful employment, at Nook's Cranny. I guess you could argue child labor. Maybe not so good on that. But
there's something dark though. There's something dark with that.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm not hating on him because he's in my top 3 favorite characters.
Sure.
But he's a sketchy dude. And that only adds to the appeal, right? He's got the sweater on, he looks like a nice guy, and then he's like, all right, now you owe me. I love it. I'm all about that. I
love the image of him from when Animal Crossing got announced, where he's in a dark room and he's only lit by his computer screen. Do you know what I'm talking about? That one image of him from when it got revealed? It's just him sitting there.
I don't remember.
Sitting there.
What's he looking at? Did they show what he's looking at?
I don't know if I want to know what he's looking at.
I definitely don't want to know.
Let's see. Tom Nook.
Tanuki's Gone Wild.
We all know a Tom Nook. That's the thing. It's we all know a guy or girl.
Yeah. Oh,
we
absolutely.
All have a Tom Nook in our lives.
Nice sweaters.
Oh.
Nice sweaters.
Absolutely.
And adorable. There's just something dark underneath there, man. There's something Epstein going on. Tom Nook was definitely on the fictional Epstein.
We are on an island, right?
Dude, it is an island.
We're on an island.
Why don't you come on down to this island here? That's what Tom Nook is.
Release the names, Tom Nook.
Tom Nook is actually an anagram for Epstein. If you think about it enough.
Holy shit. This is the most enlightened I've ever been on a video game podcast. This is insane. Good. This is an epiphany. All right. So what happened? We somehow, you guys both went 0 for 0?
Oh, for
All
oh.
right, you
We
went
don't know
0 for-
anything about each other.
All right. Well, listen,
It's
this
like
is
I've
how
never
this
met
is
him
perfect,
before.
actually, because you guys this could be the tie-breaking thing between you guys. I want you both to guess mine. I'm going to write them down. I have 3. I have them listed right here. Honest Engine, right? But this is the honor system. I won't change mine. They're all here. They're kind of, I feel like mine are pretty easy. But Dust, I'm going to give you, well, let Micah go first. Micah, ladies first. Give me your 3. Let's see if either one of you guys could guess one of mine. We'll see who comes out on top.
All right. I'm gonna go Rosalina
Okay.
again. I think that there might be something there. I'm gonna go boring. I'm gonna say Mario. I'm
Okay.
taking it. Or was that off the board? Was it where I was supposed to say
you could guess Mario.
Oh, I can remember if we said to not
Mario's
say
in play.
that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go
Okay.
Rosalina. I'm gonna go
Okay.
Mario. I'm gonna go with Ganon.
Okay. I like that guess. I might have put Ganon on my list for you, Micah, actually. Even though I wouldn't have gotten it, but I think I would have.
If we were listing sexiest Zelda characters, then that would have.
That's fair.
But that wasn't
That's
the
totally
question.
fair.
If it was who would you do, then that's a completely different ballgame.
Sure. Fair enough.
All right, Dust. So Micah guessed Rosalina, Mario, and Ganon. I don't want to sway you in any way. But those were her guesses for me.
I tried to write mine out before she said what they were. I didn't want them to influence.
Very nice. Okay.
So I said Samus from Metroid. I said Link from Legend of Zelda. And then I was scrambling because Micah was about to start talking and I wanted to lock it in. I also put Mario.
Okay.
It was a similar answer.
I will tell you, Mario almost made my list. And I realized, you know what? He's got too much of that Mickey Mouse thing going on. He's just too much of a poster boy and just not enough personality for me, you know? So Mario was a good guess, and he did almost make my top 3, but then I said, I got to keep it a little more interesting. So
he showed us his nipples. How can you say
true.
that?
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah, he got a little more
Can you say that about the other characters on your list, Dag? Let's find out.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else with actual visible nipples on my list? Well, let's see. I said Link, Toad.
Yes.
And
you can see Link's nipples.
The one
Wart. Oh, I should have known Wart.
Who I'm obsessed with. But probably because he only popped up once and never will. That's my obsession with Wart. So technically Dustin gets it because he did guess Link. So you get the 1 point and you beat you're the winner of this segment, Dust. But yeah.
I don't really feel like a winner. But I will still accept.
And listen, when Gene comes back, we're gonna do the next iteration of that game, which I think is gonna be, it should be really fun. And then we'll have a nice, kind of a 4-way thing so we could, guess each other's answers. But we'll wait for the Genester to come back. But that was good, guys. Thank you for playing. And you know what I like about these two? It gives me a little insight into your guys' tastes for your predilections for all things Nintendo. So it's good. And also a reminder who, there's some things on here I haven't thought about in a while. So, and shout out to Wario. That'll be like when they came up with the Bizarro Mario, I remember being blown away by that. The little W mustache. Now, let me ask you guys a question. I don't know. I have to admit to not knowing this. Wario came first before Waluigi, right? It was Wario, then Waluigi. Or were they debuted at the same time-ish?
I think it was just Wario in Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
I think Waluigi was just created to be a Mario Party character, right?
Is that right?
Micah, do you know his
That's
debut?
Interesting.
I don't know. They were my favorite to play in Mario Kart Double Dash. I'd always go Wario, Waluigi. Like that was the go-to combination. They were just the best.
Okay, so Waluigi made his debut in Mario Tennis for Nintendo 64.
All right. That makes sense. Okay. All right, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you for playing.
Well, thank you, Dag. Especially, like I said, just off the cuff, ready to go with something.
That's how we do it.
Let's end out the show with 2 questions from our audience. And this first one I thought was pretty interesting just because there's been some light rumblings. But Zach Wishnuff writes in and says, where do you think Nintendo goes with the next installment of Super Smash Bros.? If they keep all the characters and add a proper story mode, that would be a great start. Bring back trophies to collect. To collect would be a great addition as well. Do you think PlayStation IP or more Xbox properties will have a chance at making an appearance? I'd love to hear your thoughts and predictions. So I know you two aren't super into Smash, but I know you guys are You appreciate what it is for the amazing crossover. I think there's no way you can at least say like it's appealing by the nature of what it is.
In principle, I love it.
Yeah. So, Micah, what do you think? Is it just do we just need more characters, a proper story mode like Super Smash Bros. Brawl had? What are your wild card ideas here?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like they have added so many characters to this version of it that it is like, where do you start with the next one? Do you bring back a much more limited roster and then add more characters? I just feel like they have already exhausted so many options for characters, but there are still ones that we're asking for, like Waluigi. So they are definitely still have options that they haven't done yet. I do think, bring back a story mode, just bring back something else, freshen it up a bit. But I am genuinely concerned in terms of like special characters that like who can they bring that we haven't seen before type deal that isn't just it's another guy from Fire Emblem. It's like you remember him and it's like he looks just like the other one. And I'm not hating on Fire Emblem, but it's not the most exciting thing to put into Smash Brothers, right? But yeah, I feel like they still there's got to be something that they're still thinking of in terms of characters like our beloved Waluigi, who has never been in it.
So weird.
But yeah, if they did partner like with Xbox or something, Master Chief in Smash Brothers, that's an idea. That's something we could do. The guy from Quantum Break, that's an idea. You know, we get the Gears characters in there. I don't know. I don't actually want that to happen.
And sawing Kirby in half.
Exactly. He's got the Lancer. Just that would be pretty cool. Peach is just holding up her frying pan and he's just got a chainsaw.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome. But no, I really do have a little bit of apprehension as they just kept releasing more and more characters for this version of Smash. I was like, you gotta save some for the next one. What are you doing? But we'll see. It's Nintendo. They'll come up with something.
Yeah. I'm very much of the mind that build on what you already have because Ultimate truly is Ultimate. So what can you build around the current roster? Make it even more insane. And Dagan, where I want to throw this to you is that we've had characters like Game & Watch. We've had Duck Hunt. And it sounds like this could be an opportunity for your boy, Wart.
Where is
Why
he?
not? Where is he?
Where is he?
Perfect obscure character for the series.
Absolutely. Or at least have him as a, what do you call it? Like somebody you could call in, like an assist.
An assist trophy.
Have an assist in there, something like that. I think the whole thing with him, and Colin and I have talked about this multiple times, is that I think he might be technically owned by Fuji because that game, the Famicom version of that game was a project done in association with Fuji somehow. So he might be caught in some kind of copyright crossover thing. But dude, I think as far as Nintendo goes, Smash is maybe one of the most frustrating things for me because in premise, frigging in love with it. Dating back to when it debuted for the N64, like those commercials, the ad campaign with cosplay Yoshi beating the crap out of cosplay Pikachu in some sunny field. Like I was like, this is the best because it's Nintendo being a little bit irreverent and also like a colliding of worlds. Like I don't need any lore. I don't need anything. Like the fact that these characters are mashing up just to beat the crap out of each other is fucking amazing. Like this is the kind of thing I love. But what I hate about it, what I've always hated about it is it doesn't play like Street Fighter. You know, like I'm so old that I go back to Street Fighter and sort of the Capcom style of fighting games in the arcade dating back to Street Fighter 2 and then Alpha and then Darkstalkers and the Marvelverse games and all of the sort of copycat games that copied that model of 2D fighter, controller rotations and everything like that. That's the kind of fighting game that I love. Every other kind of fighting game, like even Mortal Kombat, blocking with a button, like I don't like it. So my evolution of Smash would be to make it like Street Fighter. I know it's fighting words. I know people are going to get so mad at me for saying that, but I remember when Smash came out and I thought that's what it was going to be, being so crestfallen when it was like, oh man, I don't even understand the way this works. And there was something really cool about the camera moving in and out. It felt more like what I liked from a presentation perspective of like the Neo Geo fighters, right? Like Samurai Showdown and King of Fighters and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what always kind of confounded me. I don't really have to say, I don't understand how to play it. I don't understand how it works. I think it's either that I want it to be more or I'm missing something. And I've never really had someone sit down and try to show me the ropes. Like, you got to think this way. You kind of got to break everything you know about fighting games and approach it this way, because my other really good friends that I grew up gaming with feel the same way as me, because they're also old men. So it's like, we just don't understand. I think there's something about it that I just missed generationally. I want to love it, but I love what it is. I just don't love playing it. It's just, I don't know if it feels too it either feels too easy or I'm missing something. I don't know. I need like a serious clinic, like a weekend clinic. Like, dude, this is how you approach it. I think Chris Raygun actually offered to do that. He's like, I got to sit you down, and I think it was Chris, and just sort of acclimate you, sort of break you so you could kind of get out of that Capcom mindset a little bit. But yeah, so that would be my wish list, is just changing the entire model, but that would piss off millions of people. So probably not going to happen.
There is, I think on his YouTube channel, Sakurai said he was returning to game dev and was going to be taking a break or doing less on his YouTube channel. So take that as you will. Let's end off with one last question. There was just a lot of times, I love all your write-ins, but a lot of times I get the same types of questions, and I always want to change it up. This one asked an interesting question I haven't seen before. So this is from DM Deo, who says, listen, the glasses list 3D in the 3DS was actually impressive. If Nintendo were to bring it back in a system with modern specs and an HD screen, I think it could really captivate the market. What do you guys think? So, I'll say about it. Micah, 3DS, were you playing with 3D on or off?
Yeah, so I would always turn it on just to see it, and then I would always switch it back to off because it did tend to give me a bit of a headache. And I'm someone who, in that 3D era, I was all about it. All right, we had a 3D compatible TV. Whoa. I bought the Toy Story 3D Blu-rays. All right, like I was all about 3D like content, but something about playing it versus just watching, a movie, for example, would always bother me. Was it which of the Arkham games had a 3D mode that you had to wear glasses? You had to have the smart TV glasses to go with it. And I remember being so hyped for it, and I was like, this isn't good. It just wasn't that good. I feel like 3D was just the definition of a bubble of like everybody was really into it, but the tech really wasn't there. It was disappointing for the home audience, and people don't really care about it anymore. I certainly am over it at this point. I don't want any more of it. I don't need Nintendo to bring that back. It's cool to go back to 3DS and like, yeah, it works. It's neat that it's a physical dial as well. I always liked that. But I don't need this back. It really is just something that was a novelty, but didn't enhance gameplay, in my opinion. And it's not something that I would want Nintendo to put money or time into, revitalizing. Give us just a better screen to look at for the standard game. Don't worry about making it 3D.
Yeah. I always didn't like that. I always noticed the 3D slider when you had it on, the resolution got worse on the games. So that really bothered me. And that first 3DS, you had to be in such a specific spot that made it really annoying. And they fixed that on the new 3DS, but still had some issues. But I sort of agree with this write-in where I thought that the things they did were pretty cool. Super Mario 3D Land was a neat game, and they specifically put 3D elements into the gameplay so it would enhance the experience in some ways. So I thought that was cool. But the problem I think with, and this is for 3D in general, is just that there were too many cheap 3D implementations that were bad. I think about movies where you see something that was clearly they did the 3D in post and it barely made a difference. And you're like, oh, cool. I spent $4 extra in 3D and it just looked slightly darker. So that sucks. But then I think about, I will never forget seeing the movie Hugo in 3D, which was filmed from the ground up with 3D in mind. And it was amazing. It made me a believer. I was like, whoa, this could be amazing 3D movies. And then there's just was too much shit. So, Dag, as a 3DS user, did you like the 3D? Did you turn it off?
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? I never owned a 3DS. I never owned one. When I went to go buy Graydon a 3DS when he was little, I'll never forget this. The salesman, I don't know if I was in GameStop or if I was in Target. Maybe it was Best Buy. I'm not sure, but they were like, Graydon was little. I mean, he was like 3. Or maybe he was 4. And the salesman was like, you know what, dude, he's going to break this. Get the 2DS. And he was like, it just holds up. It's a brick. It's, very substantial. It's hard. It's kind of hard. It doesn't have that feature where, that hinged feature. So I got him a 2DS. I remember I got home. My daughter was like, whatever she was at the time, 6. She was jealous. She wanted one too, although she didn't game really. So I remember getting her and myself both refurbed 2DSs as well. Then I always lamented not having a 3DS, so I ended up getting a 2DS XL, which I love. I think it's one of I think it's one of the most beautiful handhelds. It's beautiful. I love the way it looks. I love the way it plays. So but I never really got to see or play anything with the 3D features. It's a complete blind spot for me.
Yeah, it's we have to try it out at some point just to see, because it is cool. It absolutely is cool when you first use it. Like, whoa, that actually works pretty well. But just 3D is dead across the board. Just I don't even know. Maybe some movies are in 3D.
Yeah, they still have
I don't even know
who goes in for it. That's the question.
That's the thing. When you mentioned actually going to a movie, Dustin, it's like, I think the last 3D movie I saw was the Harold and Kumar Christmas movie and from many years ago. And that might be the last time I went to a 3D movie. And Dagan, another interesting thing though, actually, is the 3DS wasn't recommended for small children also because it could mess up their eyes.
I didn't know that.
And I think it was like kids under 7 or 6 or 7, you weren't even supposed to play. And that was something I forgot about. I thought that's what you were going to say, that the salesman had warned you, because it completely jogged my memory of I forgot that was even a whole thing.
That sounds important.
Imagine voluntarily giving up those sales though, of kids under 6 can't play this console because you'd have to watch them the whole time to make sure they don't turn on 3D. So that's actually another incentive against it, is that, Nintendo wants your 5-year-old playing the Switch. Of course they do. So if you add on this 3D toggle, you either need a parental control to keep it turned off. It just complicates things when you realize, this locks out a section of the market. You know, is that their hardcore market 5-year-olds? No, but they want to play Mario. They want to play these games, even if they're maybe not getting through them, much like myself. But do you want to have to deal with that? Not really.
It's a great point. No, I never knew that.
Yeah. I think the last 3D movie I saw was Avatar: The Way of Water. Was in 3D, and I was like, well, this movie is all about the visuals and the technical showcase, so
makes sense.
It was actually pretty cool. It was pretty cool in 3D, but that might be the last one for all I know. So, but anyway, that's it for Punching Up this week, and I want to thank you guys, of course, for all the write-ins. We really appreciate it. It really helps round things out. And if you would like to write into the show in the future, it's at the $2 level at patreon.com/laststandmedia. I gave you guys the spiel earlier, so I won't bog you down with everything, but just want a gentle reminder. Of course, I want to thank my crew here. Micah, thank you for being here. Any final thoughts?
Oh, I got some mac and cheese in the fridge
Oh.
that I've been thinking about all morning. I made mac and cheese last night, like homemade mac and cheese, and it's always better the next day, in my opinion. So it's one of those foods that it's really good the day of, but much like meatloaf, or like soup, it sits in the fridge overnight and it's even better the next day. So I've been thinking about this mac and cheese all morning.
Hell yeah.
That sounds good.
Dude, I got to eat after this too. I was telling you guys earlier, I'm double booked. So in 50 minutes, I'll be recording Defining Duke. So
You gotta eat.
once I'm done here, I'm going to go eat. And then I'm back on the mic, baby. So it'll be fun. Dagan, thank you as well for being here. Appreciate you.
Fun.
Any closing
Had a
thoughts?
blast. It was super fun to sit with you guys. I haven't forgot about our lead-in conversation about the coffee. I'm going to have a cup. I'm going to cheat. I'm extending it to 3. I have to have it. I have to have it.
Have to have
I
it.
gotta have it. And I'm going to miss the next episode, I should say. Speaking of Florida, I'll be down in Florida with the fam. I think I'll be coming back later in the day that we're going to record. So I'm going to miss the next one. So we're going to have to wait on that game segment yet again. Unless I kind of hand it off and you guys could get the gang together. I know I hear rumors that I know who's going to be on. I don't know if you want to spoil it yet in my place.
We'll just spoil. I don't want people to get hyped up. It's going to be Brad. Brad's going to join in. Dude, I was telling you before, I'll tell the audience, it's like Murphy's Law. They will announce
it's going to be huge.
Something right when you're gone.
They bought Microsoft.
So,
yeah. Something world shattering is going to happen when I'm down in Florida. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Brad will join us for the next episode, and it'll be fun. And Gene will be here too, as far as I know. He should be here. But thanks everybody. We appreciate you. We will see you next time on Punching Up. Goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.